Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with this month's episode of the Pirate Plunder's Picks, or the top 5 Magic products that I think are good buys for May of 2021. So, there's going to be a lot of overlap with last month. I still think these are good buys, especially with the fact that Throne of Eldraine is now gone. Throne of Eldraine is very, very hard to find from distributors. The last distributor that has Throne of Eldraine is charging $100 a booster box. So we already have a pretty significant increase since April for Throne. And the booster boxes are also trending up on eBay. So that's good news for the overall health of Magic. We are running into summer and it's still going very, very strong. So there's still a lot of money being spent in the sealed market, as well as the single market is doing strong for summer months. So that's a good sign to come for Magic the Gathering. I believe with the last reports, numbers are up for arena play as well as Wizards' own statistics they use for how many paper players, at least how many paper purchases by individual credit card numbers and things like that. However they get their metrics, however they gather that, those are also up. So anyway, this means that the sets that are rotating out of standard look like this might be the last time you'll be able to get in on at that $85 distributor price. In fact, Wizards of the Coast just announced their last call on Theros Beyond Death, Core 2021, and Ikoria. The problem with Throne of Eldraine is they did not issue a last call for it, meaning it is still eligible for a reprint. And I'm thinking they did that on purpose in case that let's just say Throne of Eldraine booster boxes go up to $200 a booster box before rotation, and then we have a panic or just hit some anger in the community. What we saw happen with, I believe the last time this really happened was Clearback and New Phyrexia, I would say, possibly even maybe it was Innistrad, where that is where the reprint policy changed for standard sets, that they would guarantee enough inventory for standard that as long as it's still in rotation, that stores could get sealed boxes from Wizards of the Coast. However, they changed their tone with that with Rivals of Ixalan, and Ixalan issuing a last call, but they had plenty of supply all the way to rotation for those booster boxes or those sealed products to satisfy the need of stores. So we're coming into some unprecedented and some uncharted territories here with now Throne of Eldraine going above that distributor price, with distributors no longer able to actually order this direct from Wizards of the Coast. With that policy, I don't think has ever been lifted from when they changed that with New Phyrexia and Innistrad, so that wouldn't happen again with these. For a little bit of context, I played during that time period. New Phyrexia boxes were going for twice as much, and they were still in standard rotation. And I think we even saw that with like World Wake. I didn't play during World Wake, but I remember World Wake had some obscene amount of the price was for the booster box. So it actually affected people wanting to do drafts or just having the standard cards available. So we'll have to wait and see with Theros or Throne of Eldraine if there is another reprint, a small reprint, just to satisfy distributors and stores by getting a restock of it. We did see that as well on things like War of the Spark. War of the Spark went out of stock and got one of the very last reprints. Speaking of War of the Spark, there's another booster box that has just gone up a ton in price and isn't even that old in the scope of things. So with Throne of Eldraine having an even higher power level, in my opinion, than something like War of the Spark, I think it's going to age very well. And even the $100 booster box price doesn't seem too shabby, looking at how Dominaria and War of the Spark have just gone crazy, and those aren't even old sets. Anyway, so let's get into my picks for this month for the top 5 Magic products for May of 2021. If you're interested in my top 5 non-Magic products, you can go over to my Gone Rogue game channels. I've got some goodies over there for sleeves, accessories, and even a really cool board game. Anyway, let's get on to it. So we can look at Dongler here. So my picks, I'm just going to say my picks right now, then we'll go over them one by one. I'm going to pick the 3 rotating sets out of standard that are still available for distributor cost, meaning $85 a booster box, this being Ikoria, Core 2021, and Theros Beyond Death. I actually like all of these sets. If you actually look at Core 2021, if you look at the TCG market price of this, it's $91.72. So it's already above the market price of, or above I typically use the baseline of 85% of, if you get 85% of your booster box value out in $2 and above cards, I think that's a great deal to, it usually means something's going to give. It usually means the sealed prices are going to go up until it's less than 85% of the sealed price. You can actually look at most of these ones now, and you're not going to squeeze 85%. Like look, Constark here, sealed booster boxes in the 200s. That's of course is not even close to the value you're going to get at 85%. You're down to more like 50%. Or even below that at that point. So if we check over at Core 2021, it's above that. It's actually, you actually have an expected value from Core 2021 higher than what you'd pay for a booster box at the $85. Go over to Ikoria. Ikoria is the same thing. So Ikoria is $93, and then we have Theros Beyond Death. It's a whopping $111.54. That's the biggie here. It's got some good uncommons that are raising the value, as well as it's got a common island it actually has value. Just what we call the Pokemon lands, or the Theros Beyond Death lands, I think are going to age well because they're still one of the most beloved basic lands of all time. They're very comparable to things like Unstable or Unglued with the demand for these particular lands. So let's get on to the other goodies here. I guess we'll just talk about those three here, and we'll check out some of the prices. So first of all, Ikoria. Ikoria is doing quite well. The main reason I like Ikoria long term is with the Triomes. I think the Triomes are going to be mainstays in Commander format for a long time. We have the Zagoth Triome that is doing the best because it's got that double dipping factor of being played in a standard deck as a very good target, also with the binding to be tutored up. So there's a lot of standard decks that are playing the Triome because of its basic land types and the colors that are used, and it has found a home. And of course that is going to be true if like another set, the next set comes out and it actually changes up, or if we actually see Strixhaven make a bigger impact on standard and maybe another color combination, we might see some of the other Triomes start to catch up. So there's a huge difference between the least expensive Triome, which I believe is the Indatho, so it's going to be the white, black, green one, is half the value of the Zagoth. But long term, these are heavily played in Commander. There are also some other heavily played cards in Commander and in other formats like Lurrus the Dream Den. The Ozolith is actually very, very popular in many casual decks, as well as constructed decks, as well as Commander decks. We have Shark Typhoon, which is just a powerhouse in many formats. The Feed Artisan, very popular card in Commander. And then we have even Luminous Broodmoth, a mythic that I think is just destined to go up in value because of its recursion ability, and even it doesn't even exile those cards. They keep recurring into the graveyard, and then there's plenty of ways to actually abuse Luminous Broodmoth long term. So I'm liking the Ikoria. I'm surprised I'm actually saying this. I'm surprised that these words are coming out of my mouth with Ikoria, because it was such a dud set compared to the Theros and Throne that came before it. And even if you compare it to like Ravnica Legions and Guilds of Ravnica and War of the Spark, this was kind of the dud, the first dud in a while out of just knock out of the park sets that people, even Theros people did. There were many powerful cards out of Theros that people were giving credit to that set as a stronger set. So another great thing too, look at the Sprite Dragon. The Sprite Dragon is an uncommon at $3.50. This is seeing Legacy and Modern play, and it is just keeps on going up and up and up. So rotation is not going to hurt this card whatsoever. I didn't get any meaningful reprints. I had like an FNM promo, and this is going to be something that we can expect to give enough box value to keep the sealed prices of these quite high. So again, I really like Ikoria as a investable product right now at the $85 mark. I don't know how much longer even that will last. From what I know, there's still quite a bit of supply of Ikoria and the core set and Theros, but only time will tell. This is also a huge mystery for going forward, how well these sets will age, because they did have collector's editions. But what I'm thinking is that collector's edition probably helps the Ikoria booster or draft boxes, because I would, if I'm a betting man, I am a betting man. If we were to compare the overall amount of booster boxes that were printed from the last set before there was the last major set before there was collector's edition, so War of the Spark. If we were to compare how many War of the Spark draft booster boxes were printed compared to Ikoria draft boosters, I bet there is a lot less Ikoria, just due to the fact that collector's edition was another product that was added to the amount of supply out there, but it didn't mean that there was the same amount of draft boosters. It was just, it wasn't supplementing, it was replacing that amount of booster boxes that would have otherwise needed to be reprinted for people, opening up booster boxes. And they had the effect of really lowering the prices early on. I think Ikoria did come out of the gates at like having a $50 EV with a booster box because the collector's edition was just sapping up all the value that could be had out of this set. So anyway, Ikoria, great box to get into at this price, and this might be the last time that you can get in on at this price. Typically, I like to wait a while, so I'd even say after rotation, you still had 6 months to buy products, but that is the ship has sailed for those type of advice for investing in sealed product. When you look at things like even Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica, they went up above that distributor price quite quickly after rotation. All right, so core set 2021, I am still a huge fan of this set. The EV, as we saw, was $91, and there are some goodies in this one, like the Heroic Intervention reprint. This one should continue to get reprints, though. It's going to be an evergreen card that I'm sure they're going to throw in many standard sets because it's an ability they do want in standard sets, as well as they're going to be reprinting this in commander sets. So I'm not sure that this one can hold its value long term. Every time it gets above this $15 mark, I'm sure it will get reprinted. It'll have a hard time in getting up to $15, in my opinion, before a reprint happens for this card. But there are some other goodies in here, like the Grim Tutor will start to recover. The Fiery Emancipation continues to go up. Tear the Peak, I think, will be a very popular card in casual as well as commander, and it is even is constructed playable in some of the older formats like Historic or Pioneer. And of course, Ugin is just a powerhouse in many different formats. We have the Chromatic Orrery. This is a very fun card at least playable card in Commander. And if we keep going down the list, there will be plenty of other cards that should start to recover, like Azusa. Veto keeps going up, 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 up. I'm going to have a video on Veto because this can be found in Arena Starter Kit, which is crazy because the Veto is worth more than the Arena Starter Kit even costs at this point. And we have even cards like Massacre Worm that it was very low from Scars of Mirrodin after it rotated and then recovered to some pretty high prices, if I remember correctly, from our Mirrodin Besieged. Yeah, so it was Mirrodin Besieged, and let's see where it got up to. If I remember correctly, yeah, it went up pretty high, up to about $25. And you see this trajectory here. We should follow this same trajectory of the last time it was reprinted. And it is a card that does have demand in Commander, as you can see. Great way to always check a card is click on the goldfish and see how many Commander decks it's being run in, or of course you can go over to EDH Rec. So core set 2021, still a great set. This wasn't a stinker of a core set. It's actually a lot better than many core sets in the past. So I'm pretty bullish about this particular set going forward. All right, so that leads us to the best one to invest in right now, which is just crazy, is Theros Beyond Death. Theros Beyond Death now has Kroxa that keeps creeping up. It's still a playable card in many different formats. Of course, Euro is banned, but it's still available in Commander. We still have Heliod that is a modern playable card. The Nyx Bloom Ancient, very, very popular card in Commander. Same thing with the Dryad of Elysian Grove and the Thassa Deep Dwelling. Of course, Thassa's Oracle is just a powerhouse in many different formats. It's a go-to card. I am so surprised that this hasn't been banned in a format so far. It's led to actually other cards being banned. But Thassa's Oracle is a win con in many Commander decks, many different decks in the various formats like Modern, Legacy. There will be decks that will run Thassa's Oracle as the win con. I believe even Pioneer has one that runs Thassa's Oracle as the win con. Some other cards that continue to creep up in value, like the Shadow Spear. Underworld Breach is just begging to be broken in many other formats, and we have like the rares in the Commander playable avenue that is starting to go up. Idyllic Tutor is recovering. This was an expensive card before the reprint. Nyx Lotus is another card that is played very heavily in Commander, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of goodies here in the Theros Beyond Death. Has a lot of values. I believe there are some uncommons. Yes, there's some uncommons that are worthwhile keeping an eye on, like the Soul Guide Lantern, Hydra's Growth, Destiny Spinner, all above $1. And that's typically what you look for in a set if it's going to be able to have long-term EV, and it will lead to higher box prices. All right, so next up, we're going to talk specifically about Kaldheim. Kaldheim has a ton of supply as far as draft set and whatnot, but I do like the price point of what you can get on Collector's Edition. So Collector's Edition can be found for about $170 to $175, which is lower than usually what Collector's Editions go for. Strixhaven is trending like $225, to give you an example. And I think they did hold off a little bit on Strixhaven comparatively with Kaldheim. So Kaldheim collectors are still going down as far as the values are concerned, as far as the so I think we have what here? We have the main set here. We have the main set's going down, but there are some goodies in the mythics. We have a $35 mythic. We have a $21 mythic. We have a few other mythics that are above the $10 range, and we do have some rares that are above the 5. Speaking of rares, these pathways I do like long term. Pathways I think are going to be go-to cards. Any commander deck is going to be wanting to run them because they're quite flexible for a 2-color and above commander deck, and if they are getting a reprint now in the form of the Secret Ultimate Lair, Secret Lair Ultimate Edition 2. So that's going to keep the prices a little bit down for the Collector's Edition ones. But we even have things like Burgi, God of Storytelling. So I'm looking at the main set here when I should be looking at the other sets here. So Vorinclex, though, still holding a high price tag for the Phyrexian, which can be found in Collector's Edition, and a high price tag for just the alternate art. And then we even have the Valky alternate art that's doing quite well. The Coma, all of these are in the foils. They're giving a pretty good EV to the Collector's Edition. Now there are some sleepers here that I think will go up. One like Burgi. Burgi is just a card I think is very investable right now with the Showcase foil. It's played very heavily in Commander. It is enabling a ton of combos, and it should do well for the Collector's Edition as the go-to kind of chase rare going forward. If we look at the showcases themselves, that is the normal showcases. These are also doing pretty lackluster at the moment, but if Theros Beyond Death and Throne of Eldraine are anything to get historical prices for, these recover quite well. And especially the chase ones. So again, looking like Burgi and Tergrid, these see a ton of play in Commander. I think these ones will absolutely start to recover. Even Toski, Bearer of Secrets are going to start recovering. And then even the main set foils still have some goodies here with like Vorinclex at 45, and the Goldspan Dragon should start to creep up in value. Right now there is no foil multiplier whatsoever between the Goldspan Dragon and the normal one, but in the long run, these will start to go up in value. And again, I can tell you to go look back at Theros Beyond Death and Throne of Eldraine for where their foil multipliers were at kind of the 3-4 month mark compared to where they are now. So these tend to do age better, and especially the collector's editions do tend to age better long term. So again, that's what I was going to showcase here with Kaldheim. Is I think it's a great set long term for Commander. Lots of good Commander playables here for especially the land run. I think that Kaldheim won't be. The problem with Kaldheim is just sandwiched in between, or I mean, it was kind of right after some really good sets, and it needed a power reset for Kaldheim, and it focused more on fun cards than actual powerful cards. But eventually the fun cards will start to win over. Casual players, especially Commander players, typically do gravitate towards those cards that are more fun or more synergistic, that require like combos to work with, rather than just things like Embercleaves and Great Hinges and stuff like that, what we saw with their Throne of Eldraine. Anyway, the last product I want to talk about is Throne of Eldraine. Yeah, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but there are still the blisters. So that we have the collector's edition blisters. So I think it's been going around Reddit. There's been some other posts just around social media about how Walmart has quit stocking. Many Walmarts have opted out of carrying these higher end products from Magic the Gathering because of the amount of fraud that has been out there. And that was exactly what was happening with Throne of Eldraine blisters and other blisters. Is there was just so much fraud, they pulled them from Walmarts and they sent them back to distributors to be allocated normally through like the WPN network. So Throne of Eldraine still has some available collector's editions. I believe I can still get them for like $18 a blister, which is not, I mean, that's still below MSRP of what the collector's edition packs were supposed to go for, but it is quite significantly higher than originally. I think usually when collector's edition, they're like $180 from a distributor, so that puts it about $15 a pack. But so that is above that $15 range, but only slightly. And there are some goodies if we look from the collector's edition. So if we go over to like the main set foils, we have the Great Hinge going for $60. It's starting to have a much better multiplier, 40 to 60. At one point, again, there was no foil multiplier, but if you really go over the showcase foils, this is where you have not showcase foils, excuse me. If we go over to the extended art foils, this is where we have some goodies here, with the Great Henge being $285, Questing Beach at $110. We have Rankle at $90. We have a lot of expensive cards here in this range, and they do keep going up and up and up. We do see some weekly downturn for this particular week, a little bit downturn, but you can see the price history of these cards just have gone up and up and up. So this is probably your last chance to get into Throne of Eldraine sleeve boosters, sleeve collectors edition. Again, they're just booster packs that come in like the little things that hang on the hangers. They call them sleeve boosters, and so you have to buy them one at a time rather than in an actual sealed box. So a lot of people who invest in sealed product might not want those because there's just this kind of misguided idea that they need to be sealed in a box. But speaking from experience, some of the best things that have aged long term that aren't considered sealed like you would do a box would be things even like pre-release kits. And I'd put these little blisters in the same category as pre-release kits, that they're sealed enough. I mean, they're basically tamper proof. I know that people have shown ways you can get the Throne of Eldraine out of their blisters, but the packs are still the packs, and there's no way to really map them at that point when they're coming in basically loose picked up packs that have been redistributed through the main distribution ranges here. So anyway, Throne of I think it'll age well. I think that you'll be able to get decent returns if you're looking to hold them long term for the collector's edition blister sleeves, or if you're just thinking about cracking them for EV. I think you're going to definitely this is the best price point you're going to be able to get in. Yeah, I mean, the best price point would have been 6 months ago, but that ship has sailed, and I think this is a reasonable price to get in before it starts to go crazy for these particular sets. Anyway, that's all I have for you for this particular episode. Again, the ones that I do like is just the rotating standard sets. I do like the collector's editions from Kaldheim and the blisters from Throne of Eldraine. So there's nothing just too juicy in this one, very similar to last week, but we're in some very weird times with this policy change of, if there is a change, of the rotating out boxes. We could actually see all of these be $100 or more boxes and still be like a month or two from rotation, which is the way the EV has been trending with Theros and Ikoria and Core 2021. All of them, usually this is where you start seeing EV crash because of standard sets, but without paper play, that's never been a factor to begin with. And so this is a good sign for these particular sets. And we hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with the Rogue Market. If you want to see the companionship video, head over to the Gone Rogue Games channel, where I review some of my favorite products for May 2021. Thanks for watching.